Oh, well, it was nice to be in a good mood for about a day and a half, wasn't it? Aston Villa 2, West Ham 1, the best team won. But, and there's a lot of buts in this one, if you pardon the expression. Before I go any further, let me just explain what... No blame apportioned to Graham Potter here at all. He's had no time whatsoever to implement his ideas. But there was enough. There was enough change at the start to indicate some of his ideas. But we've only got the slightest... We've peeked through a crack in the door. We've peeked through the keyhole and see what he can do. And there was a lot of good. There was a lot of good in that game. And I think certainly I've seen some green shoots of recovery, if you want. Unfortunately, I think there's a few players that maybe got a touch of PTSD, if you want, and some of them crumbled, despite a very, very encouraging start where Lucas Fabianski, I don't think, had to make a save until like the 65th minute or something like that, because we started that game very, very well indeed. I just think when I talk about, say, the PTSD, I think there's so much residual... Sorry, I always tip my microphone. So much residual trauma left over. I know those are really sort of harsh words for football, but I think there's a lot of trauma left over from all the stuff that's happened over the last calendar year, it has to be said. And I think in the end, come the end of that game, we saw it all. He's got a big job on his hands, Potter. There's no doubt about it. He has got a big repair job. What I'm going to do, though, I think I've seen a few players who I think are going to struggle under Potter, and I think I've seen some that are going to thrive. I'm going to deal with that in tomorrow's video, all right? So tomorrow's video will be out. I'm actually going to record it straight after this because I'm going to have tomorrow off. There you go. So, but I'll release this video tomorrow, the next one. Today's game, we did start well. Crescencio Somerville started on the right, sort of like a right wing-back hybrid role, if you want. We played a back three. Kilman was on the left-hand side. Mavropanos was in the middle. We'll get to him later. We had Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right of the back three, and we had Ollie Scarles playing as like left wing back, if you want to call it that. It was. I'm like everybody else. I'm sort of watching, scrutinising everything, and it was a surprise to see Somerville on the right hand side, and I think to see Kudus playing centrally as well. It really did start so well, and I just want to say this. We lost Nicholas Füllkrug early in the game, 13 minutes. And we scored the opening goal in that game, and he had played his role in that. I think had he have stayed on the pitch, and we lost Somerville at half-time through injury, I think there's every... I don't think I'm being ridiculously optimistic, so I think we could have won. I really do. But we lost two key players that already were key. So the goal that we scored, a ball got played up to Füllkrug, who'd done a flick-on header. When we saw this, we saw the same thing against Manchester City, funnily enough. It was a move that we saw last week. In many respects, maybe you could even say that was the start of it was a Lopetegui move, if you want. Flicked header on to Kudus, who's playing in the number 10 role. He played a nice ball over the top to Somerville, who was playing at this point where he received the ball. He's playing in the right wing, dribbled the ball, took the ball into the box, dribbled the ball into the box, and played a beautifully cut back pass, which realistically only a right-footed player playing on the right hand side can do. Actually, having said that, Bowen does it, to be fair to him, but. You saw later on, because West Ham were in a similar position and Kudus tried it when he tried to move with the outside of his foot to the same guy, Lucas Paquetá, and it didn't quite work out the same. In this instance, it did work out really, really well because Paquetá just side-footed it home. It was a good goal. We could have scored after 40 seconds. Paquetá did a beautiful shot, long-range shot. Weren't far. I mean, it was not far away from being like a goal of the season thing. Top corner. About not far wide at all. And we were good. We were looking good. We got into a similar situation, as I said, with Kudus shortly afterwards. And then losing Füllkrug was a big blow, really, because Danny Ings came on, and I felt it changed the way we played quite drastically. Actually, we still had some threat, largely because of Somerville, who was exceptional. I mean, he was brilliant. But we were so good defensively, so very, very good indeed. You had Edson Alvarez put in a real shift. Some of his passing is ropey as hell at times. It really is. And sometimes he goes up. He had a ridiculously wild shot, gets a nosebleed. But some of his tackling and some of his blocks were amazing. I don't know where you go and get that stat from to see how far somebody's run in a game. But he covered some ground. And him and the shift put in by Soucek, who was clearly trying to pass the ball forward more quickly than he usually does. They put in a real shift, which really helped the defence. But the defence also helped themselves, I thought, up until we crumbled, and crumble we did. I thought Mavropanos was dominant in the air. Kilman looked imperious. Some of Kilman's long-range passing was excellent. And Wan-Bissaka was playing really well as a right-sided centre-back. But they didn't have a sniff. Honestly, not only did Fabianski not have a save to make in the first half, I don't think they had a shot. That's how good we were. But, Villa may say that's how bad they were. But we played our part. And yes, they did come back into it. And they really did, and we tired. As I'd say, we got traumatised. We got tired and we got fatigued. But I honestly believe had Somerville, and even if it was not Fulkrug, even if it was just it was Antonio or just something Bowen, I think we win that game. I really do. So I think I'm quite enthused with what can happen, but. The Fulkrug. Well, we'll talk about the injury at Fulkrug more tomorrow. But it didn't look good. Looked like a hamstring. All he did, he wasn't challenged. He just tried to sprint. That's all he did. He tried to sprint and he broke down. I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for us, quite frankly, as well. It's going to need to be something that gets sorted as a conversation for another day. West Ham are going to have to move in the transfer market. But I don't want to digress too much on this video because, this is about talking about the game. Ollie Scarles, magnificent. Him and Somerville were my men of the match. Really, really good. I'm not being overly romantic because he's come from the academy and that sort of thing. Far from it. He really deserved it. I thought he played really, really well. And to be fair, he linked up really well with Paquetá. He was substituted near the end. Cresswell came on, but there was no reflection on how he played. He was brilliant. I think possibly it might have even been clever management from Potter because the team were crumbling at that point. Second half, Somerville came off in the second half, at half time. And Soufal came on, which meant Wan-Bissaka went over to Somerville's sort of right wing-back position or whatever you want to call it. And Soufal was in at right centre-back. And again, we kept them quiet, but we got tired. And we'd already had 2 forced substitutions. And, we weren't really left with anyone in particular. I guess we were. I was still thinking there was a point with Danny Ings, even in the first half, where, because Fulkrug was offering this target man threat. He was strong. He was holding up the ball. His flick-on header was actually already the second one he'd done. And it was, he'd done 2 of them. One of them led to a goal. That was very early in the game. But it was quite clear that Ings wasn't going to offer anything in this game at all. So I just wondered, I thought, get some pace, do something else. Can we bring Guilherme on and play him up front or something? Like, it almost felt to me like almost anything would have been better than Ings. Even at that time. But, I guess you can't do that, particularly in Potter's position. You can't bring someone on as a substitute and take them off. He's got to sort of, at some point, whilst he's got to try and win the game, he's also got to try and gain some level of respect with the players in the dressing room. And Ings is a popular player, of course. But we tired, and then we got tired some more, and we just didn't have a bench that was adequate that we could call upon and that they could impact the game at all. Unfortunately, not. And then we started to crumble. We really did. It was a massive shame. I'll tell you who crumbled more than anyone was Mavropanos, and it was a little bit sad to see. I'm just sort of looking up some stats and stuff at the moment, but it was quite unfortunate to see come the end of it. To be honest with you, it was. When I say about PTSD, it really did sort of feel like that. It felt as well as he had done in the initial 65 minutes. It just all started to fall apart. It all started to unravel. Players started making mistakes. And Fabianski was a big one in that. Now, I don't know because Fabianski fumbled the ball, basically, and they scored. But what I must say is, it was from a corner which should never have been given. And it's a funny one with VAR, because a lot of time you don't want VAR, but then sometimes you do. That being said, the commentator said they don't give VAR for corners. I didn't know that. I guess I should know that. But I didn't. It sort of that escaped me. I think what a really, really hard thing about all of that was they didn't deserve the corner and they scored from the corner. But by this point, Lucas Paquetá had started play acting. It started so well. He really had. And by the end of it, he'd reverted back to type. And this is what I'm talking about with this trauma. It was if the team could hold whatever instruction had been given, or whatever enthusiasm or whatever motivation had been given by Graham Potter for the first part, but then it started to dissipate. Then they started reverting back to type, and it was almost like the last year was haunting them. So Paquetá had started playing with a swagger. He then started rolling around, diving, and all the rest of it. There's something that annoyed me. He tried to do a gentlemanly thing at the end, at the start of the game. Leon Bailey was down injured, and he stopped the game. And I'm talking who stopped the game. Paquetá stopped the game and tried to do that gentlemanly thing. It wasn't quite Di Canio-esque as the commentators, Lee Dixon, said in the commentary, but we did that, and he allowed the guy to get treatment. He wasn't injured. Everyone could see he wasn't injured. But I think Paquetá probably thought that Bailey might have twisted his knee or something like that. It wasn't reciprocated, and I think that annoyed Paquetá. So he started rolling around expecting Aston Villa to stop the play when he was on the floor. Of course, they weren't going to do it. And I think it's really, really important. I think if I was a manager, I'd be instructing my team, you wait for the referee. No. I mean, just don't try and be too nice. I think the referee can do that, and the referee's under instruction to do it only for a head injury. Just don't do it. I think he got annoyed that he wasn't. But he was play acting. Paquetá was play acting. By the end, it got absolutely ridiculous, and he got worse. Kilman at the end actually rescued Mavropanos from it being really, really bad. But it was a capitulation from the team, and from particularly Mavropanos. And I thought everybody was struggling by that point. Mavropanos, for the second goal, Mavropanos got done. I think it was possibly Rodgers down there, and then possibly Kilman could have done better with Watkins. But we were knackered. We had no answer. It was quite funny. Despite that, at the end, we did rally a little bit. Ings eventually, come the end of the game, had a couple of chances. Look, it wasn't to be. It's a real shame. I don't know about anyone else. I was screaming for the subs to have been done earlier, but I don't want to be overly critical of Potter. It must have been hard. I don't think it was a great bench. Change is going to be needed, both in terms of personnel, and it's going to take a while. He's got a degree in psychology, Rodgers, hasn't he? He's going to need to use that to try and purge this. I guess this sort of ingrained capitulation that there is with the players, which mean we could just get swamped and overrun. I do think some of it was fitness, though. I really do, and I just think not enough fast players, not enough energetic players, and not really a bench. We've had too many injuries. Injuries cost us in that game. I'm very, very certain of that. And in the end, we just didn't have enough. And Everton were I don't know why I said Everton. When Aston Villa were making changes, they were bringing fast, energetic players on. We just weren't. We were bringing Soufal on, we were bringing Cresswell on. It was, yes, I know Guilherme came on in the end, but you get my point. It just wasn't the same level of quality coming off the bench that they were able to do. I think in many respects we got a little bit unlucky, because Barkley got injured, so Everton, bloody hell. Anyway, I guess Barkley has played for Everton, hasn't he? And so has Onana, who's the guy I'm going to mention now. Villa would say that they had injuries as well, but the Barkley one and Onana made them better, which I didn't think helped. So their injuries made them better, and our injuries made us worse. There you go. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to talk about a couple of the players that have got to go, really. And so it's some decisions that we've delayed for too long. I'm going to get this uploaded now. Like and subscribe and do all the stuff. And let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be reading them first thing tomorrow morning.